So in the last class, we finished with our second chapter, that is the end of bipolarity as per your book. Okay, but as I told you that this year there is a bit change. You have to study about the unipolar world as well as Arab Spring as two new topics within the second chapter itself, which means your US hegemony in world politics, that is your third chapter, will be a part of your second chapter. You have to just study how it became a unipolar world, okay, and then about the Arab Spring. Now, all of us are very much familiar about United States of America, right? So how did US emerge so powerful? What happened? What were the operations that it conducted that showed its powerful military, economy, culture, everything, right? So see, America, usually the popular usage of the word America to refer to the United States of America is what we follow. Okay, America usually covers two continents of North and South America, and the US is the only one of the countries of the American continent. Okay, so I believe the use of the word America is solely for US, and that is already a sign of US hegemony, which we are trying to understand further. Okay, that is just one continent, okay, amongst the various countries of the there. Okay, now after the end of the Second World War, the world was left with bipolar world. Okay, there were two superpowers, right? After the end of the Cold War, that began after the end of the Second World War, the Cold War started, right? Now, after the end of the Cold War, the world was left with just one superpower, and that is US. But US hegemony, it did not begin completely in 1991. Okay, it would appear, you will understand it from the point of view that US hegemony began in 1991 once Soviet power disappeared from the international scene. But actually, US did not behave in a hegemonic manner from 1991. Okay, it was cleared much later that fine, we have a country which is solely superpower and that is trying to dominate, that is trying to rule the world in one way or the other. And that started with the first Gulf War. What happened was, in August 1990, Iraq invaded Kuwait. Try to understand it as a story. Okay, Iraq invaded Kuwait and it tried to occupy that. There were series of diplomatic attempts that failed to convince Iraq to quit its aggression towards Kuwait. Even United Nations mandated the liberation of Kuwait by force. But that did not work. So this was a dramatic decision by UN after years of deadlock. What do you understand by deadlock? Deadlock is a state where no progress can be made. Okay. Now, US President then, George W. Bush, he hailed the emergence of a new world order in this situation. Okay, what was that new world order? A massive coalition force of, let's say, 6 lakhs, around 60,000 from 35 countries, 34, 35, the number varies, students, everywhere, but it is usually 35 countries, 34, 35, okay, just understand it in that way. So 34 countries, they fought against Iraq and they defeated Iraq in what came to be known as the First Gulf War. Okay, now after that, the UN operation, which was known as Operation Desert Storm, it was mostly American. The UN coalition led, nearly 75% of the coalition forces were from almost United States. Okay, and although Iraqi president said, that is Saddam Hussein, one of the most defiant leader, violent leader, okay, the history has ever seen, he said that this is gonna be the mother of all battles. Okay, but he was defeated and he was forced to withdraw from Kuwait. Now, the first Gulf War showed the gap that existed between US and other states. What power US actually had in terms of technology, in terms of military, was totally revealed in the first Gulf. Right. And that is how it tried to dominate and give a message to the world what power it actually possesses. Right. So that is why the use of the smart bombs within United States is referred to as the war with during the war with Iraq is referred to as computer war due to the use of the smart bombs. Whereas the widespread media coverage made it a video game war. Right. Now you must know here that the UN operation here is referred to as Operation Desert Storm. The first Gulf War is code named as Operation Desert Shield. Okay, I haven't mentioned here. This is just for your knowledge. Okay, now then you see in 1992, George W. Bush is no more the president, and finally the election is won by William Jefferson Bill Clinton. Now Bill Clinton has been one of the most popular US presidents, right? Charming personality among the politicians in the world, right? So Bill Clinton had overwhelming popularity. He was from Democratic Party, and when he took the chair in United States, his focus was on domestic policies rather than on the foreign policy issues. The government of Clinton focused on soft issues like democracy, its promotion, democracy, promotion, climate change, world trade, rather than moving on to hard politics than military power, security, right? But there has been various operations conducted within the Clinton years as well. What are those? Number one, Yugoslavian actions. Yugoslavian actions in response to the Albanian population, the Yugoslavian action against the predominantly Albanian population in the province of Kosovo, and there also the NATO air forces. Okay, the air forces led by the NATO, led by the US, bombarded the targets around Yugoslavia for over 2 months, 2 months continuous bombings. Okay, that led to the downfall of the government of the president that was there, that is Slobodan Milosevic. Okay, and finally there was stationing of the NATO forces in the Kosovo. Another very important military action during the Clinton years was in response to the bombing of the US embassies. Okay, direct response here. Embassies were bombed, US embassies were bombed in Nairobi, Kenya, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania in 1998. And who would do these bombings, students? It was done by another very important organization, terrorist organization, Al-Qaeda. Now, Al-Qaeda, the word itself is enough, right? Okay, so Al-Qaeda, it was a terrorist organization strongly influenced by extremist Islamist ideas. Now, there are many such terrorist organizations which are still working, and there has been such terrorist organizations since 1998. So, always remember, Al-Qaeda was not a new one for United States, which you got to know during the 9/11 attack. It is the target since 9/11, since 1998, sorry. Okay, now then you have there that President Clinton, he ordered Operation Infinite Reach against the Al-Qaeda terrorists, where a series of missile strikes were done on Al-Qaeda terrorist targets. And finally, here you will see the US dominating, because US did not bother even about the UN sanctions, about the international law, nothing. It simply started the missile strikes on Al-Qaeda. Okay, no discussions, nothing. Definitely, that was in response to the US, that was in response to the bombings of US embassies, but it was coming in such a say consecutive manner. First Gulf War, right? Yugoslavian actions. Then you have the bombing of the embassies, US embassies. Okay, so all such incidents where US shown its actions without concerning, without considering, without consulting even UN, was how US was trying to be hegemonic, was where the technological gap between US and other states was clear. Okay, then you have 9/11 terror attack. On 11th September 2001, we all know how two important buildings, World Trade Center, was blown off by the terrorist groups. Okay, again here, what is important? The way the terrorists attacked one airliner, each crashed into the north and the south towers of World Trade Center. A third aircraft crashed into the Pentagon building. Okay, in Arlington, Virginia, where the US Defense Department is headquartered, and the fourth aircraft was bound for Capitol building of US Congress, but it came down in the field in Pennsylvania. Okay, now this attack killed nearly 3,000 persons. However, in terms of loss of life, if you see, 9/11 is considered to be a severe attack on US soil since the founding of the country in 1776. Now, naturally, US response would be ferocious. Clinton had been succeeded in US presidency by George W. Bush, and Bush had a much harder view of US interest. Okay, of all the means, as a part of global war on terror, US launched Operation Enduring Freedom. Okay, against all those who were suspected to be behind the attack, just suspected. Okay, US had no such proofs, but everybody, each and every person who were suspected to be behind the attack were simply picked up by US. The Taliban regime was thrown. Okay, but all those whom US suspected to be behind the attacks, mainly Al-Qaeda and the Taliban regime in Afghanistan, were picked up. The remnants of the Taliban and Al-Qaeda have remained potent, and that was very much clear from the number of terrorist attacks launched by them against the Western targets since then. The US forces made arrests all over the world, often without the knowledge of the government of the person. And they were those people, those humans were sent into the secret prisons. Some of them were also sent into Guantanamo Bay. Guantanamo Bay is a US naval base in Cuba where the prisoners do not even enjoy international law, students. The protection of the international law, the human rights, and they are severely tortured. You know, history talks about the time of 9/11 repercussions, that the US responded so brutally that it did not leave anybody, and it tortured people from all sorts of ways, being very inhuman. Okay, and there are various documentaries, movies which have been made on the way US reacted, the way US tortured, to show the dominance of US, okay, over the world. Right, and then you have many such incidents. Then further you have Iraq invasion coming in 2003. On 19th March 2003, the US launched its invasion of Iraq under the code name Operation Iraqi Freedom. Now, more than other countries joined in the US-led coalition of the willing after the UN refused to give its mandate for the invasion. And the main purpose of invasion was to prevent Iraq from developing the weapons of mass destruction. Now, why would US not want Iraq to develop the weapons of mass destruction? Number one, it will come as a challenge to US. Number two, it will come as a threat for the world too, because Iraq was on a way to capture many other countries. It could have. Right. So with the with that fear in mind, with that competition in mind, with that challenge in mind, US tried to stop that. Now, since no evidence of weapons of mass destruction was seen in Iraq, it is said that invasion was motivated by other objectives. Now, what could be other objectives in capturing the fields of Iraq? That is naturally the oil fields. Okay, and installing a regime that is friendly to US, friendly enough to give advantages to US in terms of oil fields. And that is very much obvious why oil is important. Okay. Now, although the government of Saddam Hussein fell at that time, but the US was not able to maintain peace with Iraq. Rather, a full-fledged insurgency against the US operation was ignited in Iraq. And I've explained you what is insurgency. So while US lost over 3,000 military personnel in the war, Iraqi casualties were much higher. And it is believed that 50,000 Iraqi civilians have been killed since the US-led invasion. And it is now widely recognized that US invasion of Iraq was in some way a failure also, politically as well as militarily. Okay. Now that is all about how US tried to act dominant in front of all the other countries, and the presence of US soldiers everywhere, which somehow showed how US tried to be powerful, how US portrayed its hegemonic ways militarily as well as politically. Okay, now that's it for today, students. In the next class, we will study about US hegemony. That is, what does hegemony mean? Hegemony as military power, how US is powerful military wise, then how it is powerful economically, that is structural power, and also as soft power. I must tell you, amongst all, this soft power gets very important and interesting. Okay, all right, so that is it for today, students. If you have any problem, please let me know. Okay, thank you, students.